Kloudfuse Trace Analytics turns raw span data into real insights so you can visualize, alert, and act on what matters the most. We are in the trace list screen right now. In our trace list screen, we show the spans that meet the search criteria. We have some powerful options for trace analytics. To be able to do those, you can click on either time series, top list, table, pie chart, or heat map views. I'll show you how these work. If you click on the time series view, it shows you the distribution of your data based on the search criteria that you have, as well as any aggregation and rollup that you have added on top of your data. In this view, by default, we show the count of all spans coming from various services across your microservice environment. By default, we only see the service entry spans. You can also toggle this button here and look at all spans. So you see the number of spans has increased compared to service entry spans. So service entry spans is the top level span within the service, and it could initiate more spans within it, like internal spans or external client spans. And so the number is typically lower than all spans. I can narrow down my search by adding a filter criteria. For example, if I only wanted to look at the counts of all spans coming from the front-end service, I would choose the filter as front-end service. What I'm looking at is the count of spans from front-end service coming across this time period, broken down into time buckets. So right now the time buckets are roughly 5 seconds. You can also, in this view, do group bys. So let's say I want the count of all spans by service. In this view, I'm seeing the count of all spans as I saw before, but now it is showing me the counts per service. By default, we take the top 5 services, but you can increase this to a larger number. Let's say we want to look at the top 50 services. So we're seeing more services in this view. We can also increase the group by adding another value like span name. So this is going to group it by not just the service, but the endpoint on the service as well. So you're seeing that front-end proxy has a couple of endpoints, ingress and outer front-end ingress, and typically front-end gets more requests in our demo. So most of the top results are from the front-end proxy and front-end. But as you go down, you can also see like other services, and you will see the endpoint associated with that service. For example, in this case, it's a gRPC endpoint calling product catalog service get product. From this view, you can also add filters. So for example, let's say I want to add filter on the product catalog service. So I'm now viewing only the spans coming out from product catalog service. You can add additional filters as well. So I just want to see the gRPC spans. You can add that filter. You can also like use the search bar to add any additional filters you want. After you have the basic query, you can actually perform some advanced operations. Like you can add more queries. You can say, I want to filter by both the product catalog services that are there on different environments, but then I want to compare one of the services with the other. So I would add a query here, and I can remove the or clause so that I can compare one service with the other. So in this view, if I remove the aggregations, I see a comparison of the count in A versus count in B, which is both the product catalog services versus the product catalog service, which is running in a particular environment. I could also split this chart into the component charts. So it gives me a slightly different view than before, and combine it again. I can also add a formula. So I can say, okay, what percentage of my traffic is coming from the service in query B versus A? So I can add a formula like B times 100 divided by A. And I can selectively choose what I want to plot. So I'm going to disable A and I'm going to disable B, and I'm just going to plot the percentage values here. So as you can see, this is showing me a percentage value between 0 to 100 of what proportion of the traffic is coming from the service in query B versus query A. Once you have this data, you can actually view it in multiple different views. So you can say, I want like a stacked bar chart, I want a line chart, I want an area chart, or I just want to see the points. You can also expand this view. In this view, you can even compare it to previous hour, day, week, month, or quarter. You can also view like a logarithmic view of the data versus a linear view. And we also show you some values from the graph. From this view, you can also export to a dashboard. You can export to an existing dashboard, or you can export to a new dashboard. I'll give it a name, test dashboard panel. Now this dashboard has been exported successfully. You can also save this metric, and let's just say I name it test metric. Saving a metric will periodically create a metric out of this data. For example, every minute, metric will be emitted with the aggregated values for this data, and then you can use that metric in your dashboards. If I navigate to the dashboard, I can see a test dashboard being created with the test panel that we added. You can also visualize this data using the other options that we have here. You can also view this in top list and break it down by span name to see it in a table view, broken down by the endpoint or span names. You can also view the same data in a table view or a pie chart view. You also have the ability to download this data from the pie chart or the table view. You can download as CSV or download as JSON. Another feature we have is the ability to create alerts from this view. So currently I have filtered it down to these two services, and this is my resulting data. I can use this data to create an alert. Simply click create alert, and this takes you to the regular trace alert creation screen where you can define the various parameters that you want for your alert, like your alert threshold, more details about your alert, and your contact points. You can also save this query as a metric. When you click on Save Metric, it allows you to create a metric in the system, product service. When you save the metric, we will periodically emit metric data point as the spans are being ingested by the system. This typically happens at certain bucket intervals. By default, the bucket interval is 1 minute. So for every minute that your spans are coming in, we aggregate the data for the incoming spans, and then we emit a metric so that it can be used in dashboards and alerts. Another very powerful feature we have is the heat map, which is also known as k-lens. When you click on the heat map, it plots how long your requests took on the y-axis over a duration of time, which makes it easier to visualize any requests that are out of the ordinary. As you can see, there is a bunch of requests here that look different from the requests that are down here. These requests have higher durations compared to the requests down here. So I would want to know, why are these requests taking a longer duration? To do that, I simply draw a box around these requests, and I can say analyze with k-lens. When I do analyze with k-lens, it compares the data within the box with the data outside the box across hundreds of variables and gives me a breakdown of what is different between the data inside the box and the data outside the box. And it also ranks the charts according to which attributes have the highest difference. So as you can see, the data within the box has the highest difference for the RPC service. So in this case, within the box, we have RPC service requests to the feature flag service, which are taking way longer than the other requests. The other requests are going to the product catalog service, and that are completing much faster. This is also reflected in the span name that is being emitted. So all the feature flag requests have the span name hoteldemo.featureflagservice/getFlag. And as you can see, this comparison is being done across hundreds of variables instantly. We can also choose to view the actual spans associated with these longer duration requests. We get back to the view where we see the spans in a list view with all the spans that took longer durations. Once you have identified the attributes that are causing the difference in the data, you can choose to add filters to narrow down your search. For example, I will filter by this particular service and run the search again. As you can see, now the data has changed, and I no longer see the bottom line, which was my faster request, and I only see the requests that took a longer duration in time. Once you have this view, you can also export it to a dashboard like before. With Trace Analytics, you don't just collect spans, you turn them into dashboards, metrics, and alerts that keep your systems healthy and your teams proactive. Your trace data isn't just for debugging anymore. It's your foundation for understanding service health, predicting issues, and maintaining peak application performance. Start with the analytics query that answers your most pressing operational question, then build your alerting and dashboard strategy from there.